So unattractive. Imagine starting a family with a woman that can't cook. You picked up a dictionary and you read a word. It's not that serious. So a woman is supposed to help you. Right? You're supposed to find this attractive? Let's do a fun one. It's from Alienated TV. Let's see. Let's get into the cringe so we learn something.
An unpopular opinion, but I think men should bow down to women.
I never move out of the way for a man in public. Ever.
Men are trash.
Oh my God!
But every now and then, Mama likes to dumpster dive.
I am now a misandrist.
Bruh.
This is the system men created. I don't give a I don't give a fuck. This is a system y'all created and y'all don't like the fact that women don't like y'all now. I don't care. No.
Where's my button?
Emotional damage.
Ladies that say things like this typically want the authority of a man, the privilege of a woman, the accountability of a child, and the freedom of a wild animal. In short, they want a position of superiority with next to zero responsibility.
What?
They're also more likely to blame men for everything. Welcome to the modern woman.
The reason I don't understand the term modern woman is because, like, the way men are using it as if it's a bad thing. It's like, okay, so if you don't like modern women.
I remember this one. I covered this one before. Everybody in the comments was like, why is she so tired though?
And then what kind of women do you like? Dead ones? Like, modern just means now.
Unfortunately, you're not very bright.
So the women that are alive, existing in the current, aren't we all technically modern women? I'm confused. And if you're going to criticize modern women, if you don't want modern women, what is the name of the kind of woman that you want?
It's called traditional women.
Good, clean girl.
Traditional women is what the vast majority of men want. A woman that's feminine, kind, polite, compassionate, accommodating, nurturing, and cooperative.
Facts.
Many modern women lack these basic qualities, but are also bereft of accountability, loyalty, and trustworthiness. Dressing provocatively, being a heavy drinker with tattoos, face piercings, and a high body count are qualities that won't allow many men to view them as marriageable or even relationship.
Jeez, what a cringe B-roll this is. Are you kidding me, dude? What the You're supposed to find this attractive? Like, no man, no high value man would even think about long-term commitment with this. I could only imagine the backlash if men went on some tirade about how we want to be soft, we want to sit at home, we want to play video games all day, we don't want to do shit, we want to enjoy hedonism, and that's the you go power empowered king, yeah, new age male, and we'll see all the shit we would get from mainstream media, all the shit we would get on TikToks from women. It's the double standards that you could look like this and be called empowered.
Worthy.
Like, are you making enough to support a non-modern woman? Because I know for a fact the same men who are like, modern women do this, modern women do that, are the ones who also want a woman to pay for her meal. So, to be honest with you,
if a man's looking for a traditional woman, it's because he's traditional minded. I've never heard of a man that wants a traditional stay-at-home wife also want her to go 50-50. If that guy exists, obviously he's a moron. As a fact.
pick something. Pick something quickly, because you're teetering between a couple options. Pick one. Just pick something.
So time is on our side, not hers. Men have started picking. They're called Blue Book gentlemen, and they're traveling the world dealing with women that don't look tired and angry like this all the time. You don't get that choice, sis. So quickly, start gathering those cats.
Quickly.
It's a trap.
Men aren't teetering between who they'd prefer to date and marry at all. Men much prefer traditional women over modern women.
He ain't lying.
And men will often happily take on the financial load if a woman is of a traditional mindset. He'll be more inclined to view the relationship as a like-for-like value exchange.
I think it is truly evil how the patriarchy weaponized aging, and by measuring a woman's worth.
Patriarchy weaponized aging, as if her own mother never told her, Sarah, you better find a husband fast, you're only getting older, shit ain't gonna be the same.
Worth by her beauty and her beauty by her youth essentially ensure that even the most powerful of women will lose that power in time.
Women complaining about the patriarchy immediately gives you an idea about how brainwashed they are by feminist societal programming and how shallow their thinking is. Within patriarchal relations, women are collectively excluded from full participation in political and economic life.
You know how hard it is to explain feminism to a woman?
So obviously, the patriarchy doesn't exist in the West. Also, the patriarchy never made the rules about women becoming less attractive as they age.
No way.
Women did.
This can be blamed on Mother Nature. She's determined that men are driven biologically to be attracted to younger women due to their superior childbearing potential.
Hey,
he's out of line, but he's
not
right.
our fault.
I think a lot about how we're fed this idea that men get better with age and that mature men are sexy and men get salt and pepper and wrinkles and dad bods, and it's literally deemed to be hot. Women are only allowed to age if done so gracefully, not to mention the societal pressure for women to remain hairless, essentially mimicking the likeness of someone who's, I don't know, prepubescent.
Being hairless is a woman's choice.
Looks like it's pretty hairy.
Besides, there are enough men who appreciate a sprinkling of grass on the pitch.
Growing up is hard for everybody, but I think there's something especially dark about the experience of aging as a woman. Speaking as a woman who's grown up in the entertainment industry and is experiencing getting older, there's almost this intense feeling of like grief or loss, like you're losing your beauty, you're losing your value almost.
The process of losing your beauty and your sexual market value as you age is called hitting the wall. Being an old or ugly woman is like being a man. You're going to have to work and earn the things you want. Thus, women should design their lives so they don't become invisible. This means not being overly reliant on qualities that are guaranteed to decay and then vanish over time, such as youth and beauty. In a battle with biology, you'll always lose.
There's just something so incredibly twisted about how the thing that arguably holds the most societal value for a woman, her beauty, is given an expiration date. It's brutal out here.
Societal measures of value indicate that men are objectified for their success and women are objectified for their beauty. But purely from an aesthetic standpoint, the societal pressure for men is to look good, whereas the societal pressure for women is to look young. Women are born rich and become poor, so their value is front-loaded. These are the rules Mother Nature has set.
Okay, these are some things that are super misogynistic that you probably have never even realized before. And it needs to stop. When guys only respect women that they find attractive.
Women only offer a base level of respect to the men who have looks, money, status, or fame.
You better not be saying what I think you're saying.
When a man judges a woman, it's misogyny, but when a woman judges a man, it's just a preference.
The fact that being called too girly is an insult, but if a guy is too manly, it's praised.
Are you serious?
Being too manly is regularly criticized, and it's often accompanied by the term toxic masculinity. In the modern day, masculinity is usually seen as a negative quality. For future generations, this is going to be a real issue when it comes to raising young boys who happen to be on the more masculine side.
Fangirls are called crazy or insane, but if a man is a huge fan of a sports team, he's called loyal.
This might just be because men understand what loyalty means.
When a guy buys condoms, it's a good thing, and it's safe, and it's smart, and it's being responsible and being educated. But when a girl buys condoms, it's like inferred that she's an SLUT.
She's the village bicycle.
The fact that I literally can't go out alone when it's nighttime.
We don't live in a utopia. If we did, everyone could dance naked through the streets at night, singing nursery rhymes.
That's nasty.
The issue with this type of thinking is it implies that good men don't exist. Or at least, doesn't acknowledge that it's a tiny minority of men that are the problem. And the best protection against evil men happens to be other men who are of the decent or virtuous kind.
Also, I'm not hating on men or blaming men or anything. I'm literally just stating the facts, and it's pathetic.
Who else is she hating on and blaming, if not men? It's like she's attempting to use sophistry, but her points are not clever enough to merit the term.
Inconceivable!
And of course, the main issue is that she doesn't even appear to know what misogyny means, unlike the lady in this next clip.
Have you ever looked up the definition of a misogynist? I just did for the first time, and it's not what I thought it would be.
The beauty about men is that we get better with age. Granted, I'm 25. I still get way more attention than I did when I was 18 through 24, and it's getting more yearly. Focus on yourselves for a few years. Indeed.
Misogynist, a person who dislikes, despises, or is strongly prejudiced against women. It's silly for me to be shocked, but I just always assumed it meant something less extreme. Maybe disrespects or is arrogant towards. Do you know what the opposite of a misogynist is? It's not a feminist, like me and my friends originally thought. It's a whole other word we didn't even know existed. Misandry is the hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against men. And I hated that word. Because on my worst days, I'm afraid that definition fits me. And it doesn't sound heroic like feminist. It sounds villainous, evil even. The way misogynist sounds like a predatory dragon come to devour any female to cross its path. It's embarrassing to count.
What the is wrong with this girl, dude? Oh my God. You're a predatory dragon, boys.
The amount of
devouring women in your path. Calm down, sis. You picked up a dictionary and you read a word. It's not that serious.
days I have allowed that dragon to take on its female form inside of my heart. My mouth burns with hatred as I use my words as a flamethrower. I hate men. All men suck. Even the good ones are just pretending. Men are beneath me. But the gross part is that it's considered acceptable for me to say these things out loud.
Jesus!
Credit to her for accepting accountability and highlighting that she was playing too fast and loose with the definition.
My words are like a flamethrower on my worst days.
Of the word misogyny. There are many modern women who don't seem to even know what the word means and have never.
The blood of the devil flows between my legs once a month. I cannot contain it. My hate rises.
Or even heard of the term misandry.
Wow.
But she also asks herself an important question that I think all feminists should ask themselves.
Am I pro-woman, or am I really just anti-men?
So why are so many ladies inclined towards feminism and being a modern woman, in spite of its obvious flaws?
Oh my God, you're so stupid.
Here's a possibility, provided by Dietrich Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity.
Bonhoeffer argued that stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice, because while one may protest against evil, it can be exposed and prevented by the use of force. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. Neither protests nor the use of force accomplish anything here. Reasons fall on deaf ears.
You're goddamn right.
Facts that contradict a stupid person's prejudgment simply need not be believed, and when they are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental.
An obvious example here of facts being pushed aside when it comes to feminism is the gender pay gap.
We're toppling the patriarchy.
No matter how many times this wage gap claim is decisively refuted by economists, it always comes back.
Go away.
But the 23% gender pay gap is simply the difference between the average earnings of all men and women working full-time. It doesn't account for differences in occupations, positions, education, job tenure, or hours worked per week.
Obviously, yeah.
When such relevant factors are considered, the wage gap narrows to the point of vanishing.
Vanisher!
Yet feminist thinkers continuously ignore this reality and will blame the patriarchy for their lower wages.
Greater caution is called for when dealing with a stupid person than with a malicious one. If we want to know how to get the better of stupidity, we must seek to understand its nature. Stupidity is, in essence, not an intellectual defect, but a moral one.
Unless you're actually cognitively impaired, stupidity is often the result of intellectual laziness and ignorance.
Am I living in a nightmare right now?
How often do we see feminist thinkers issue awful advice to women without fully researching or understanding the consequences?
So first of all, if a guy asks what your body count is, you say, none of your business, number one, and then lie, say 5 people.
Advice built on laziness and ignorance can have horrible repercussions for those that follow it.
It's so crazy that they always argue that it's strong and empowering for them to sleep around the way men do. And that racking up body counts, pumping and dumping a man as if they can even do that, is so cool, queen. We're getting experience. We're discovering ourselves. Oh my God. Yet you're afraid to tell people your body count. You either get defensive and say none of your goddamn business, or you outright lie and tell men 5 by default. Why? If it doesn't matter. If it's so empowering. If you feel like such a boss babe and a queen, and that you're living your life, just say it then. Why are you ashamed? Men ain't shit, right? Why do you care what they think? If a guy asks you, tell him. If he can't handle it, he's insecure, sis. Isn't that the de facto argument they use? If a woman tells you her body count, and a man gets so insecure, he leaves me, then he wasn't meant for you, correct? So, stop lying, just say the truth.
Impression one gains is not so
Listen, we want the whole facts up front. That's
much that stupidity is a congenital defect, but that under certain circumstances, people are made stupid, or rather, they allow this to happen to them.
I'm making a very bad choice with zero possibility of a good outcome, 100% chance of failure. I'm still doing it. It's gonna be awesome while it's happening. As soon as it's done, it's gonna suck, and I'm gonna hate myself, but I'm gonna do it.
people who live in solitude manifest this defect less frequently than individuals in groups, and so it would seem that stupidity is perhaps less a psychological than a sociological problem.
Groupthink is a phenomenon that occurs when a group of individuals reaches a consensus without critical reasoning or evaluation of the consequences or alternatives.
Do exactly as I say.
By nature, women are collectivist and conformist, and will rarely go against the herd. Feminist culture is dominant, fashionable, and has become mainstream.
It is all around us.
So it's easy to see why many modern women subscribe to feminist thinking, because its message is hard to avoid.
The process at work here is not that particular human capacities such as intellect suddenly fail. Instead, it seems that under the overwhelming impact of rising power, humans are deprived of their inner independence and, more or less consciously, give up an autonomous position.
Being a free thinker is more important than anything else. The moment a woman attaches herself to a movement or a group like feminism, she'll be forced to think the way they all think, and act the way they all act, by demonizing the perceived enemy, instead of fixing problems.
At this point, I'm sorry, but men just shouldn't have rights at this point.
If she tries to show some level of freedom of thought, critical thinking, or level of autonomy, they'll label her as a traitor and an outcast.
God, you're sick.
So there's a fear present which helps to deprive women of their inner independence.
Yes, they're conformists, and it's biologically rooted, man. You have to survive being pregnant for 9 months. You have to survive rearing a child when they're essentially, they can't defend themselves for God knows how many years. So you create tight social circles, safety nets, if you will. Think of like the sisterhood. That used to be a thing. Women used to hang out with one another often. And they form strong social bonds where they'll help each other, protect each other, right, to look after the young. That life, that kind of stuff is over with. So now you can get them to conform to what? Something completely different, like an ideology that could go against their interests. And they'll willfully accept it because it's rooted in them to be more easily swayed into this kind of thinking. It's like marketing companies have figured this out. That's why they always market to women, groups of women in commercials wearing the same thing. Whatever would a high value woman look like? Some skinny, super attractive supermodel with a bag over her shoulder and a super hot husband and some kids and all. That's like the dream lifestyle. Or her tanning by the pool or on the beach with a Mai Tai and her hot husband smiling at her. Right? So they show enough of those images, then the woman's going to be like, oh yes, this product equates with this kind of value woman, equates with I have to get this to be that also. And then boom, materialism. They're addicted to things and will even trade their body for things. Likewise, they see the lifestyle on social media by a few influential women and they begin to repeat what they see. They start to mimic that.
Having thus become a mindless tool, the stupid person will also be capable of any evil, incapable of seeing that it is evil.
To be evil is to simply be immoral and wicked. Modern feminism is responsible for intensifying female narcissism.
Disgusting!
This is literally the whole point. We will never get our hands dirty. We will continue paying males to get their hands dirty and to do the physical, manual, blue-collar labor.
It encourages women to celebrate their worst traits, hypergamy, entitlement, and solipsism, in order to make men responsible for their material advancement.
Don't just date them for their salary. Go for their savings too. Finish them completely.
It trains them to punish and blame men, rather than learn to appreciate and collaborate with us.
That is very true.
Part of the facilitation of this conditioning is to create surroundings in which women can't love, trust, or pair bond to any one single man.
Body count doesn't matter. It matters to men because they like to feel like they're owning something. Because women are property to men. And the less owners of your property, the more control you think you have.
But a modern woman likely would not even be capable of viewing any of this as evil.
Does body count matter?
I don't think so.
I'm in denial.
Only an act of liberation, not instruction, can overcome stupidity. Here, we must come to terms with the fact that in most cases, a genuine internal liberation becomes possible only when external liberation has preceded it. Until then, we must abandon all attempts to convince the stupid person.
In other words, the feminist must first be separated from her echo chamber before asking her to think for herself.
That's not gonna happen.
Otherwise, she'll continue to subscribe to feminist groupthink.
No!
Here's some admittedly extreme, but highly relevant examples that might help to explain what a traditional woman looks like in practice.
Tradwives, traditional wives, are a growing community of women who are stepping back in time and, as they put it, submitting to their husbands, spending their days cooking, cleaning, and some even wearing 1950s attire. They're gaining thousands of followers in countries as diverse as the UK, Brazil, Germany, and Japan. To the tradwives, the decision to shun a career is a positive choice. Becoming homemakers, mothers, and wives is often described as a true calling. And they celebrate traditional ideas of feminine behavior, so the tradwife movement is often framed as a backlash against feminism. Many of the women in tradwife groups also discuss the strain of working in demanding jobs and the difficulty of balancing that with home life. So is the growing new movement offering a challenge to modern conventions and even our ideas of feminism.
The women that opt for a life like this have obviously received backlash from feminists and the woke mob.
Awkward.
Even though feminism champions freedom and a woman's choice, feminists will often belittle other women who don't conform to their exact standards. Feminists jealous of other happy women living an alternative lifestyle appears to be a thing.
Hi guys, so I wanted to create a list of some skills that you should learn if you are interested in becoming a homemaker or housewife. So first on the list is cooking.
Many modern women avoid cooking proper meals entirely due to the perceived link between the kitchen and the patriarchy.
Topple the patriarchy!
Cooking is a basic life skill that everyone should be in possession of. Assuming the mother is the primary caregiver, what are the children even going to eat? Any attempt to get women back in the kitchen.
So unattractive. Imagine starting a family with a woman that can't cook. Dude, nothing more unattractive than that. You're telling me my kids gotta eat microwave dinners? Assuming you're the man that pays all the bills. And you're taking care of what a traditional man is supposed to take care of. And then your woman can't cook. She wants to sit at home and lounge on the pool. That's what we talk about when we say, quote, modern women, right? I'm not trying to feed my kids microwave Lunchables and shit. I'm trying to raise warriors, not bug sandwich eaters.
With a view of simply learning how to cook, is met with criticism from feminists.
I don't give a shit.
Second is cleaning. My third one is seasonal decorating. And fourth is hosting. Hosting is a great way to showcase your seasonal decor and honestly welcome your friends and family into your lovely home.
These might seem trivial to some, but they relate to turning a house into a home and maintaining a community.
And last, and probably most importantly, is budgeting.
One of the problems a lot of men face in marriage is their wives overspending, then blaming the man.
Yeah, you know, my parents are in a traditional marriage. Father worked, mother stayed at home, still together. And I noticed that my mother augmented my father's abilities and saved the house money because she was cooking for the household, cleaning, doing all this stuff that costs a ton of money. Eating out is just the example I'm going to use right now. But today, with the modern woman-styled life, you get yourself a girlfriend, all she wants to do is eat out instead of cooking a meal at home that tastes 10 times better than the restaurant if she knows what she's doing. So a woman is supposed to help you. That's part of the, quote, teamwork. If your woman you just hand her your wallet and all she does is spend, that's just a leech on your life.
Man for not earning enough money.
Shocked. We're all shocked.
Having a budget that you both agree upon shows maturity and respect for your partner.
My man works very hard. When he comes home from work, I want him to have nothing to do at home. He should just relax. The house is clean, dinner is cooked, the kids are getting ready for bed. And then he gets to come home and spend quality time with his kids, rather than worrying about what kind of chores need to be done.
Bingo.
I know men who work between 8 and 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. The only way they'll ever get to spend time with their children is if their wife relieves them of as many house duties as possible.
Action springs not from thought, but from a readiness for responsibility, the ultimate test of...
Someone wrote, still going overseas, I want the real thing without the theatrics. Yeah, be careful with the tradwife movement. It's just mostly another grift on making money with the 1950s aesthetic. You don't need to dress like a 1950s housewife to show what being a traditional woman is. That's cringe, but they'll do it anyway because incel-y type dudes that have never been with a woman, think about it, 30% are virgins, think that's the ideal, the 1950s, but they have no idea what reality is really like and what's really important. It's not that she wears a apron and is cooking a meal for you. That's not what it's about when we're talking about traditional women. So a lot of men are going to get sucked into that tradwife hashtag bullshit, and they're going to go, oh my God, we must protect him at all costs. But they're grifting for a ton of money. A lot of them, when the camera shuts off, they're completely different. You want to see tradwife for real? Go overseas into a culture that's conservative. She won't need aprons and shit to show you what femininity looks like. So be watchful.
A moral society is the kind of world that it leaves to its children, Bonhoeffer once said.
And this might be the most important point of all. Who is more likely to leave behind a good society? A modern or a traditional woman? I'll leave you with this quote. You can have wars between races, wars between cultures, and wars between planets. But once you start having war between the sexes, you eventually run out of people.
That was Alienated TV, dude. Show them some love and subscribe.